Hello everyone and welcome back to Football Manager 2018 and a brand new experiment where we're going to see what would happen if you flipped the top leagues with the bottom leagues across Europe. Now this is an experiment that I did last year in England, but this has been expanded to include most of the top division leagues. You can see them here on the right hand side of the screen. You've got the La Liga, the Turkish League, Premier League, Italian, French, Russian, Portuguese, Ukrainian, Scottish League. They have all been flipped over across Europe, and you can see in the Premier League right now at the top there you've got Bath and Bognor Regis, Braintree, Chippenham. These are not the big English giants. You have to go down a bit of a way to find them because we flipped all of the leagues, including the Championship, League One, League Two, which is actually I think still in the same place because of the way that would work, and then you've got the likes of Aldershot. Further down, there's the Championship in National League South, and in National League National League South, you've got the Premier League there, along with some of the other Championship teams like Brentford, etc., because they had to balance out with 22 teams. So that is a complete reversal of the top and bottom tiers, which is going to be interesting to see how that works out with the money on offer in the Premier League. But if we take a look at La Liga, then you'll also see you've got teams like Albacete and Alsace in there. Further down, you can see the rest of the La Liga teams. It's the same in the Ladbrokes Premiership, where you've got the likes of Arbroath and Clyde in the top division. And this is getting completely flipped as well. So now Celtic and Rangers are having to do what Rangers had to do about 5-6 years ago and climb back up from the bottom tier up to the top. So this is going to be a fascinating experiment. So do drop a like on the video if you like this and other experiments on the channel. There are loads more for you to check out. Make sure to subscribe as well, because there will be a few parts to this experiment, and it's going to be interesting to see how far this goes and what ramifications it has for the Champions League as well, which is going to be the big area of change, I think, in terms of deciding what the new world order will be. So do drop a like, as I said, but let's just go 1 year into the future and see how things have shaken out. Well, we are now 1 year into the future, and starting with the Premier League here, you can see that Whitehawk are the reigning Premier League champions, with Welling, Dartford and Bath all finishing in the Champions League places. Truro, St Albans and Havant, and I think that's Waterlooville, will be finishing in the Europa League. And then at the bottom, West Ham-super-Mare, Chippenham and Gloucester all relegated from the Premier League. If we go down to the Championship, Telford and Alfreton will be joining the top division. Blackburn finished in third. I'm not sure if they're in the right place or not. There seems to have a few unusual suspects in there, but things looking pretty decent there. Blackburn, that's the current season, that's why. If we go back, York, Southport and Salford were the three teams joining the Premier League next season. And then at the bottom, Darlington, North Ferriby and Curzon Ashton all relegated. Further down in League One, if we drop back a year, you can see Blackburn and Charlton did win that league. Peterborough finishing in 6th place as well. Huge advantage for Blackburn there, finishing well clear at the top of the league. Obviously, there will be a few teams out of their ordinary place because of the 20 and 24 variation between the league sizes. If we go down to League 2, you can see that Luton won that league, 103 points. Carlisle and Exeter also going up alongside Coventry, so 4 promoted teams there from League 2. And down in the Vanarama National League, you've got Leyton Orient there, Ebbsfleet there. That was a 3-way tie on 85 points for the top of the league. Goal difference doing it ultimately for Leyton Orient. But Maidstone and Woking, teams like that, getting relegated down to the regional leagues. Now in National League North, if we drop back, you can see there are a lot of points deductions. Pretty much the entire league, I believe, have had points deducted. But Millwall managed to win 42 games out of 42 played against other teams that would have been in the Championship. That makes absolutely no sense. How on earth have Millwall managed to do that? 42 wins from 42 games, 163 goals for, 5 against. Maybe someone in the comments can let me know exactly how that's happened. You've got QPR finishing at the bottom with just 9 points. Is it something to do with the team that they were able to play? It makes absolutely no sense. They haven't got any major players in their team. So maybe one of you guys can let me know how that has come about. Maybe Millwall are the hidden giants of world football. If we go down into where the Premier League now is, right at the bottom, you can see again, massive shock. West Brom have won the league. It doesn't make any sense how that's happened. Points deductions for just about everyone, and I think West Brom were also given a points deduction, so it doesn't make any sense how that's happened. But you've got Burton at the bottom there, finishing with -4 points. Unlucky that they had that happen to them. But there are Swansea, Liverpool in there as well. You've got the likes of Brighton. Brentford actually managed to finish in 9th place, just behind Chelsea. But City at least have been promoted. United just behind them. Arsenal further back. And at the very bottom, Liverpool have been relegated from the game. That's going to be interesting as to whether they can bounce back. No idea why that's happened. It looks like they've lost most of their best players. And that's perhaps why that happened with Millwall, because they managed to hang on to some of their players. But Liverpool have lost absolutely everybody, and I'm not sure quite why that's happened. If we have a look maybe at the history of Liverpool by their landmarks, you can see they had a lot of problems right from the beginning, and just 31st of July they had these players coming in as their captain, various different things happening. But look at their transfer history. You can see they've still got Naby Keita to join. Maybe they didn't have these players in the first place. Maybe that's a glitch with this system that Liverpool have lost their key players, which is a shame if that's happened. But I don't know why it would have happened. If we maybe take a look at the likes of Manchester City, we might be able to understand why. You can see here they haven't got any key players. So I've got the feeling that this database has eliminated the key players from most of the clubs. If we have a look at their transfer history, you can see that indeed they had to bring in an awful lot of free transfers here, including Michael Richards returning to the club. But it looks like maybe this database has also gotten rid of the key players of the big Premier League clubs. They've also lost their reputation. Professional status is still there. If we look at the club details, you can see in their finances, they don't have the sugar daddy anymore, but they do have £128 million because they're still going to have that natural income coming into the club from gate receipts, sponsorship deals and things like that. So actually this even makes it more interesting, because it's not about whether the big teams can just climb back using the overpowered players that they've got. They're going to actually have to make transfers and compete, but they still have that financial resource and income that should help them fire up the league. So that's going to be interesting how that's going to play out. And it's a bit different to the one that we did last time. So interesting how that's worked out in the Premier League. If we have a look at La Liga, then we can see that Oviedo are the Spanish La Liga champions, just beating out Girona at the top there. And further down in the second division, the title holders are in fact Malaga this year, with Real Madrid also getting promoted in second place. Atletico Madrid relegated from Spanish Football League. Barcelona finishing in 8th place. Real Madrid doing very well to bounce straight back. They've got their reputation up very highly already. Of course, they've also lost their key players. So the interesting question now is, where are the likes of Cristiano Ronaldo? You can see he's at Guangzhou at the moment, having moved there. I assume on a free transfer. Yep, indeed on a free transfer, tearing up the league there with more goals and games. We have a look at Lionel Messi. He's also at Guangzhou. Guangzhou have got the best team in the world, without doubt, with Messi and Ronaldo there. If we look for Alexis Sanchez, and try and see where he's gone. I suppose he's down as Alexis, isn't it? Which was silly of me. Alexis Sanchez also in China with Guangzhou. So most of the big players have ended up in China because there's not really anywhere else that they can go. If we have a look at the general overview, you can see Higuain's also in China. Samuel Ntiti is with AS Cannes in France, but just about everybody else currently playing in China. I'm not sure how they're managing to make this work, but they are managing to do it. You've got Sahavi there at Fuli, wherever that is. Forsberg playing at Empoli. Martial at Cannes. Looks like they're doing quite well, picking up some big name players. Gelson Martin's gone to Italian Serie B. Who else is in here? I guess a lot of the big players haven't yet been signed by clubs, so hopefully they don't retire and will be able to be picked up by some of the richer Premier League teams. You can see Rudiger there playing in the second tier of German football. Gabbiadini's down there as well. A few players playing in Brazil, but mostly players just sort of sticking out in China. A few of them, a lot of the Brazilian players going back to Brazil and playing in that league. So it'll be interesting to see how that develops. It'll take a couple of seasons for a lot of the biggest players to be picked up, but at the moment Ronaldo and Messi playing their trade in China. It will take a while for the reputation of the big clubs to come back together, but if we take a look at the Champions League, you can see it's currently held by Salzburg at the top there, which is interesting because I assume they haven't lost their key players, Salzburg. You can see they've got Grimaldo playing there as well. So this is going to be a huge boon to a lot of the teams playing in second, or what we might think of second tier leagues across Europe and across the world. If we have a look at the quarterfinal stage, you can see Salzburg, Basel, Olympiacos, and Apples from Cyprus. So it's the leagues that didn't have their leagues messed with that have done incredibly well. In the last 16, the likes of Porto, Sporting did manage to get through, but were knocked out. Juventus crushed by Apoel 5-0. Chelsea beaten 7-0 on aggregate. And in the semi-finals, Olympiacos and Salzburg managing to make it to the final, where it was won by Salzburg 2-0 over Olympiacos. And that is going to be a fascinating one to keep an eye on, because the Premier League teams are going to start getting that Premier League revenue and build up their competition reputation, which is going to have a massive impact on which players they can sign. And it will take them some time to catch up to the likes of Salzburg, that are getting the reputation of winning the Champions League. They'll start to get the league places as a result. And it means they'll be able to sign the best players. So it's a really interesting dynamic how it's going to play out. But at the moment, Red Bull Salzburg have managed to win the Champions League, which is fascinating to see. Just check on the Europa League, and we can see that it was, in the end, won by a Greek team over an Israeli team, PAOK over Maccabi Tel Aviv, with Dinamo and Lugano getting knocked out. So it's really nice to see some of these other European nations doing well in this competition. It'll be interesting to see if that has any ramifications for the Euros and the World Cup too, but we can look at that next time. As I said, drop a like on the video if you enjoyed this experiment. It's certainly very different to ones that I've done in the past, but hopefully that's enjoyable for you guys. Make sure to subscribe for the next part, which will be out in a couple of days' time. And make sure to check out my Twitter and Discord channel down below if you want to talk about more things Football Manager. But until next time, see ya!